works in our spiritual life, do something new. You want to see something different? Do something different according to the word of God. And in King James it says, and they that shall be of thee shall build old waste places. Thou shalt raise up the foundations of many generations. You see what we're called to do? To raise up the foundation of many generations. It doesn't matter the race. It doesn't matter. We are called to do this, to raise up foundations of many generations. And thou shalt be called the repairer of the breach, a restorer of paths to dwell in. People need to know, and we need to continue to tell. Solomon, when he had built the temple of Jerusalem, Jerusalem was at the height of its glory. The fame was known about Jerusalem, how God was blessing. God's name was spread upon the nations. But God allowed Jerusalem to be destroyed because of the Israelites were unfaithful to God. And because of their unfaithfulness, because they went a whoring with other gods, God allowed Jerusalem to be destroyed. So here we find out that the walls of Jerusalem have been damaged. The wall has been burned. The bricks were down. It was nothing but rubbish. Nehemiah was devastated when he heard the walls of Jerusalem had been broken down and burned. He began to weep over Jerusalem. But something happened inside of him. He knew that something had to be done. He knew that it was not God's ultimate plan for Jerusalem to be in ruins. So what he did is he went to Artaxerxes and he asked permission to go to Jerusalem and rebuild the walls. He realized that he couldn't do it by himself, so he gathered other people, goldsmiths, perfume makers, rulers, priests, merchants. He gathered them together from all walks of life to rebuild the walls of Jerusalem. Rebuild and repair. Let's go to Nehemiah chapter 4. Now we know a wall is a structure that defines an area. A wall carries the load. It provides security, shelter. We are the house of God. Now let's go to Nehemiah chapter 4 in the Amplified verse. And it reads as, verse 1, but when Sanballat heard that we were rebuilding the wall, he became furious, completely enraged, and he ridiculed the Jews. He spoke before his brothers and the army of Samaria. What are these feeble Jews doing? Can they restore it for themselves? Can they offer sacrifices? Can they finish it in a day? Can they revive the stones from the heaps of dust and rubbish, even the ones that have been burned? Now Tobiah the Amorite was beside him, and he says, even what they are building, if a fox should get up on it, it would break down their stone wall. So here we have Sanballat and Tobiah coming against the work of the Lord. You see, everybody is not happy about your success or what you're doing for the Lord. Verse 4, and Nehemiah prayed. Even though they was coming against them, Nehemiah prayed. He said, hear, O God, how we are despised. Return their taunts on their heads. Give them up as prey in the land of captivity. Do not let their sin be wiped out before you, for they have offended the builders and provoked you. So Nehemiah prayed a prayer and said, don't let them get away with it. Because he knew that God had called him to rebuild the walls. So he built the wall, and the entire wall was joined together and half of its heights. For the